We are ranking all of the popular donut varieties from worst to excellent today. Pure flavor, flawless texture, optimal sweetness, and total donut enjoyment are what we're talking about. Your donut opinions are about to be glazed over by this ranking, so please like, subscribe, and get a cup of coffee. The basic cake donut, the question mark of the donut world, is at the bottom. Donuts made with plain cake are dense, frequently dry, and have no flavor other than simple sweetness. They are just a donut-shaped piece of unfrosted cake that only satisfies hunger and offers little else. When glazed, filled, or frosted alternatives are available, they find it difficult to defend their existence, even when they are produced properly. Lamar's Donuts in Kansas City, Denver, has the best version. With over 25 sites in Kansas and Colorado, Lamar's has been making donuts since 1960. Consistent quality and traditional methods that produce cake donuts with the right texture and delicate vanilla flavor have helped them establish a solid reputation. For what it is, Lamar's rendition is actually pretty fantastic. Balanced sweetness, a soft crumb, and a moist cake texture. However, in the realm of donuts, even the best plain cake donut is a lost opportunity. Since you desire flavor, excitement, or at least an interesting texture when you're eating something as decadent as a donut, plain cake donuts come in last. None of these things are regularly provided by plain cake donuts in sufficient quantities to merit a higher rating. The messy cake donut, which is really a plain donut covered with sugar dust, is claimed number 11 by powdered sugar donuts. The powdered sugar coating on these cake donuts adheres better to their slightly rougher, denser surface than it would to yeast donuts' flat surface. The issue is that you're getting a coating that gets all over the place in addition to the density and dryness problems with cake donuts. Your keyboard, your car, your clothes, before you can finish eating it, the powdered sugar frequently slips off, leaving you with a plain cake donut and a mess of sugar. Dunkin's classic cake donuts, sprinkled with powdered sugar, are the best example of this genre. With over 9,000 locations across the United States, Dunkin' was founded in 1950 in Quincy, Massachusetts, and has established a solid reputation for providing simple, comforting meals in the form of donuts and coffee. The traditional cake donut foundation used in Dunkin's rendition has a powdered sugar coating that sticks to the dense cake texture rather effectively. They aren't particularly spectacular, but they're the same in thousands of locations and are what most Americans get when they request donuts with powdered sugar, because they combine the sticky coating that provides sweetness without providing flavor with the density issues of cake donuts. Powdered sugar donuts receive a low ranking. In essence, these are lazy donuts made of basic cake with more mess. As the most divisive donut in the world, coconut donuts come in at number 10. Donuts made with coconut are naturally polarizing. There is no intermediate ground. People either love or loathe coconut. Although it adds texture and a tropical taste, the shredded coconut covering can be overpowering and become lodged in your teeth. Frequently, the coconut flakes come off, making a mess akin to donuts with powdered sugar. The best rendition of this controversial treat may be found at Winchell's Donut House. With more than 170 locations, mostly in California, Winchell's has been a West Coast staple since 1948. Winchell's, which is well known for its inventive toppings and freshly baked donuts throughout the day, is successful with coconut donuts because they utilize freshly shredded coconut and a well-balanced coconut glaze that complements the donut foundation rather than overpowers it. Their donuts made with yeast have the ideal texture to complement the coconut without overpowering it. Because they are too divisive to be liked by everyone, coconut donuts come in last. They turn off a sizable percentage of potential consumers who just dislike the taste or texture of coconut, even when done correctly. By incorporating taste into the troublesome cake donut recipe, chocolate cake donuts come in at number 9. Similar to regular cake donuts, chocolate cake donuts have density problems, but the chocolate flavor adds enough appeal to make them desirable. The difficulty lies in striking the right balance between chocolate flavor and texture. They become dry if you use too much cocoa. They are bland if there are too little. At least they taste like something, even though they're still thick and frequently heavy. With their made-to-order method, Duck Donuts offers the greatest version. With a made-to-order business strategy that guarantees each donut is fried fresh when you want it, Duck Donuts, which began operations in 2007 in Duck, North Carolina, has grown to over 100 locations around the East Coast. Chocolate cake donuts made with Duck Donuts' fresh preparation are rich and moist without being heavy. By adding glazes or toppings that go well with the chocolate base, you may create a more comprehensive flavor experience thanks to their personalization options. Despite being superior to plain cake donuts, chocolate cake donuts are nonetheless dense and frequently dry, which puts them in the lower middle. Although the chocolate taste is helpful, cake donuts' basic texture restrictions cannot be overcome. According to specialty donut businesses, jelly-filled donuts rank 8th among the classics that are seeing a significant comeback. Donuts with traditional jelly filling were frequently a risk. They were truly pleasant when the jelly was of high quality and the filling was distributed properly. They were essentially yeast donuts with sticky centers when the filling was minimal or tasted manufactured. But with gourmet fillings, appropriate methods, and inventive flavor combinations, contemporary specialty donut businesses have revolutionized them and brought them back into style. These days, artisan stores sell variations that go well beyond simple grape jelly by using actual fruit preserves, custards, lemon curd, and even savory fillings. Younger customers who value both the visual and flavor experience have taken a liking to them because of the Instagram-worthy aspect of biting into a properly loaded donut. The dependable conventional approach to this category is still embodied by Tim Hortons. With more than 4,800 outlets worldwide, including a substantial growth into the northern United States, Tim Hortons has been a Canadian institution since 1964. It is well known for its coffee and donuts, which epitomize comfort food at its most reliable. Tim Hortons jelly-filled donuts are successful because they utilize real fruit fillings and portion them consistently so that there is jelly in every bite. The powdered sugar covering enhances the flavors of the fruit, and their yeast donuts are sufficiently light that the filling doesn't make them heavy. Jelly-filled donuts are ranked in the middle because, although they have been boosted by the resurrection of specialty shops, the traditional varieties are still variable and therefore untrustworthy options for satisfying donut cravings. My mom's favorite, the traditional maple bar, comes in at number 7 as the rectangle donut that's sometimes just right but usually overly sugary. Artificial maple flavoring, which tastes more like pancake syrup than real maple, often ruins maple bars. The ideal glaze-to-donut ratio is achieved by the pseudo-rectangular shape, but this is useless if the maple flavor is phony and overpowering. But when cooked with real maple syrup, they have a refined flavor and a rich sweetness that makes them more than just glazed donuts. The most genuine form of this beloved Pacific Northwest treat may be found at Top Pot Donuts in Seattle. With roughly 15 outlets and a reputation for hand-forged donuts and premium ingredients that approach donut creation like a skill, Top Pot, which debuted in 2002, has come to represent gourmet donuts in Seattle. Top Pot's glaze is made with real maple syrup, which adds a rich sweetness and authentic maple flavor. The maple flavor is sophisticated rather than fake, and their bar donuts have the ideal chewy texture that withstands the thick frosting without getting soggy. Because they are truly tasty when made with real maple syrup, maple bars are ranked in the upper middle. Finding real versions instead of ones with fake maple flavoring is difficult, which restricts their appeal to a wider audience. As the cake donut that achieves the ideal texture through exceptional skill, glazed old-fashioned donuts come in at number 6. The batter for traditional cake donuts is used to make old-fashioned donuts, but they are shaped differently before being fried. Traditional donuts are twisted or hand-shaped to produce uneven edges and rough surfaces rather than being sliced uniformly and smoothly. These uneven edges fry at varying rates as they come into contact with the hot oil, giving them their unique craggy ridges and uneven textures. Smooth cake donuts lack the textural variation that this rougher shaping method produces. Every bite has a different texture and glaze distribution because the ridged surface creates ideal areas for glaze to pool and adhere. In favor of the classic, the slightly denser cake texture adds depth that complements the sweet glaze that settles into all those ridges and cracks. California's Sidecar Donuts has the greatest rendition. Established in Costa Mesa in 2013, Sidecar has grown to over 15 locations throughout California, focusing in artisanal donuts that elevate basic donut varieties using quality ingredients and traditional techniques. The ideal ridge texture of Sidecar's glazed old-fashioned is the result of careful hand shaping prior to frying. Each mouthful has a different level of sweetness and texture thanks to its glaze, which is neither overly thick nor sweet and blends in perfectly with the rocky surface. Old-fashioned donuts with glazes are in the upper middle because they demonstrate that technique is just as important as ingredients. A more engaging eating experience than smooth cake donuts is produced by the hand shaping and uneven frying, demonstrating that occasionally flaws are really advantages. According to claim number 5, chocolate frosted donuts is the Homer Simpson special that consistently provides satisfaction. Unlike the chocolate cake donut we discussed earlier, this is a light, airy yeast donut with rich chocolate frosting on top. Because the yeast donut base is sufficiently light to prevent the rich topping from becoming overpowering or heavy, it makes the ideal base for chocolate icing. When done right, this is donut comfort food at its best: familiar, filling, and consistently delicious. The difficulty lies in striking a balance between the sweetness of the chocolate frosting and the yeast donut foundation so that neither one overpowers the other. Donut perfection is achieved when the elevated donut adds enough structure and a delicate yeast taste to balance the chocolate, and the icing is thick and fudgy rather than thin and fake. Portland's Voodoo donut is a perfect example of this timeless mix. Established in 2003, Voodoo Donut gained notoriety for its inventive, visually appealing donuts that challenge conventions without sacrificing quality. Their shops in Portland, Denver, and other places demonstrate that artisan donuts can be both enjoyable and delectable. In Voodoo's variation, their famous brioche-style yeast donut base is topped with a rich homemade chocolate icing, while the light, fluffy donut has enough structure and subtle flavor to enhance rather than overpower the chocolate. The icing is thick and fudgy rather than thin and fake. Although chocolate-frosted donuts aren't particularly inventive, they consistently satisfy when prepared with high-quality ingredients and the right method, which is why they score in the top half. In order to achieve the ideal balance between chocolate and donut, the raised donut base is crucial. As a child, I would grab bear claws, 2 at a time, and get them stuck in this area. What about a cup of coffee? I would adore some. Bear claws, the unique donut in the shape of a foot that blends excellent texture and aesthetic appeal, come in at number 4. Bear claws are yeast donuts that resemble a bear's foot or paw. The toes are carved off to separate when the donuts are fried. They are frequently coated after being filled with almond, custard, or jelly. There's more to the unusual shape than meets the eye. Every bite is a little different because of the varying textures and glaze distribution created by the separated toes, which makes some areas chewier and others crispier. Compared to round donuts, the foot shape offers greater glazing surface area, and the filled middle gives the donuts a depth of flavor and richness that ordinary yeast donuts don't have. Bear claws provide the finest of several donut experiences when made correctly: the sweet filling, glossy glaze coating, and light yeast texture. The best form of this unique donut may be found on the East Coast at Fractured Prune. With over 30 outlets spanning from Maryland to Florida, Fractured Prune specializes on freshly prepared donuts with inventive glazes and toppings for the best possible texture and flavor. The bear claws from Fractured Prune have actual paw prints made from yeast donut dough, high-quality custard or jelly filling that doesn't leak when fried, and glazes that enhance rather than overshadow the flavors of the filling. Because they are freshly prepared, the toes keep their shape and produce the unique texture that distinguishes bear claws. Bear claws are ranked highly because they provide flavor complexity, texture variation, and visual intrigue that are absent from most donuts. In addition to providing authentic donut enjoyment, the unique shape makes eating more interesting. As the most technically difficult donut that demonstrates true pastry ability, Cruller America's endeavor to make donuts elegant takes third place. The choux pastry method, which gives French crullers their characteristic ridged shape and light, airy texture, is necessary. They are incredibly delicate and elegant when made correctly, with crispy outsides and hollow centers that give them a distinct texture that other donut varieties cannot match. In addition to being aesthetically pleasing, the ridged design maximizes glazing surface area and adds texture variation to every mouthful. The technical skill needed for this tiny donut is exemplified by Randy's Donuts in Los Angeles. With over 25 outlets that maintain old-school quality while becoming a cultural icon, Randy's Donuts has been a staple of Los Angeles since 1953. They are well known for their enormous rooftop donut sign and traditional donut production methods. The right choux pastry is used to make Randy's Crullers, giving them the ideal crispy outsides and hollow centers. Their method produces ridged shapes that are not only aesthetically pleasing, but also useful, giving Crullers their distinctive texture and glazed dispersion. Crullers are highly regarded because they exhibit technical proficiency and offer a distinctive texture that is delicate without being fragile and sophisticated without being arrogant. They serve as evidence that creating donuts can be considered an art form. Since Boston cream donuts are essentially a circular eclair that blends several flavors and textures into a single, ideal, portable delicacy, they come in at number 2. The donut shop's version of the French eclair is this. Both include chocolate frosting on top and pastry cream inside. However, the Boston cream is made with a light yeast donut foundation rather than choux pastry. In essence, it's a portable version of Boston cream pie made using centuries-old, tried-and-true French pastry methods. When correctly balanced, they provide textural variety that keeps each mouthful fascinating while simultaneously satisfying various desires. The ratio of donut to filling is important. If there is insufficient cream, it is merely a glazed donut. If you use too much, it gets soggy. The yeast donut must offer structure without being too dense to compete with the rich filling, and the chocolate glaze should enhance rather than overshadow the delicate pastry cream. The benchmark for this New England staple is Kane's Donuts in Boston. Since 1955, Kane's Donuts has been a Boston mainstay, with several restaurants offering what locals perceive to be the best form of Boston cream donuts. They are preserving traditional methods while reaching a wider audience. Kane's version has yeast donuts that give structure without being dense, rich chocolate glaze that doesn't overpower, and fresh pastry cream that is produced every day. This eclair-inspired donut is unique because of the precise balance between the filling and donut, which ensures that every bite includes cream without leaving the donut soggy. Second place goes to Boston cream donuts, which epitomize donut complexity. French pastry heritage is being used to produce a portable format that offers real satisfaction and combines several pastry skills into a single, flawless package. The most renowned glazed yeast donut, the epitome of what donuts ought to be, comes in first place. All other donuts are evaluated against this standard, which is light, airy, sweet, and filling without being heavy. The right mix of yeast taste, glazed sweetness, and melt-in-your-mouth texture is achieved by the perfect glazed yeast donut, which explains why donuts have become a global addiction. Because it is donut perfection in its most basic form, it is impossible to improve upon when done right. The hot-off-the-line variant from Krispy Kreme is the epitome of donut excellence. Established in Winston-Salem, North Carolina in 1937 by Vernon Rudolph, Krispy Kreme has expanded to more than 1,400 outlets across the globe. Their hot light creates a ritual that makes purchasing donuts an experience by signaling when fresh donuts are available. Krispy Kreme glazed donuts are incredibly light, warm, and transcendent when the hot light is on. The glaze is set but not hard. The texture is so delicate that it practically melts on your tongue, and the yeast flavor is there but not overpowering, leaving you completely satisfied. Because it embodies everything wonderful about donuts without needless fuss, the glazed yeast donut takes first place. The Krispy Kreme version demonstrates that when you master the fundamentals, right glaze consistency, ideal frying temperature, and proper yeast fermentation, you produce something that doesn't require improvement. That's it. The best donut experience is the glazed yeast donut from Krispy Kreme. This rating demonstrates that donut quality comes from perfecting the fundamentals rather than following trends, as evidenced by the transcendent perfection of fresh glazed yeast and the dense mediocrity of plain cake donuts. The best donuts satisfy without being heavy, strike a balance between sweetness and flavor, and arouse real cravings rather than merely fulfill hunger. The glazed donut from Krispy Kreme serves as evidence that when you master the fundamentals, you can produce something that doesn't require enhancement. Donut enthusiasts are reminded of why they fell in love with these fried rings of delight in the first place, and it's the donut that turns non-donut folks into believers. What are your thoughts? Has someone stolen your favorite donut? Or do you think that there are instances when a classic is timeless for a reason? For more food rankings that resolve the delicious arguments, please leave a comment below and remember to like and subscribe.